Good day to you. I'd like to tell you a story about my Crockett Jones magnificence, as I call them. Here they are. I'm going to have a close-up look later. The story is that these were listed on eBay many years ago. A bad photograph. Black shoes can be quite tricky to photograph. And they were listed as Finsbury, which is a model name, but as Finsbury, not Finsbury. So Crockett & Jones, it seems to me, named their shoes after the various towns and cities in England. So there's a pretty endless supply. I should say anything that I say is the best of my knowledge. I'm not connected with Crockett & Jones, and I may be wrong in some of the things I'm saying, so just bear that in mind. So these were as Finsbury, and they were £40 new. I believe at the time the average Crockett & Jones shoe was retailing for about 280. So 40 seemed like, wow, even though they couldn't really see what they were. But if they're Crockett & Jones and like the Finsbury, seems you couldn't go wrong. They are what are called subs. So it seems to me that subs, and John Lobb calls them rejects or puts an R, stamps an R. Subs for Crockett & Jones, it seems to me, are where something has gone wrong or it hasn't passed the final quality check, and the shoes are stamped with subs, sometimes on the inside and often on the instep, on the sole. So I'll show you that. We'll look close up later. You may be able to see that on the instep here there's a stamp that says subs. The as Finsbury bit, well, there's no model name inside them. And I rang Crockett & Jones and got a bit of an explanation. I didn't want to spend too long, understandably. So, a couple of things. Some shops in London, worldwide, don't make shoes themselves. I imagine Harrods don't. The expertise and everything. But what they might do is they might have Crockett & Jones, or not sure if John Lobb do it, Churches maybe, Grenson, I know they have done in the past, maybe Alfred Sargent. They get one of these manufacturers to make the shoes for them. I don't think they'd make a complete custom shoe. I think they choose from what they've already got. They've got loads of lasts over the years, loads of different leathers, rubber sole, double leather sole, triple leather sole, oak bark, all sorts of things, so you can pick your own preference and have that made and have a line of shoes in your posh shop. Also, I spoke to Crockett & Jones earlier about something, some years back. I don't know if they still do it, I imagine they would. But you can also have a special order. So therefore you as an individual can make those choices. Crockett & Jones don't make the last to your foot, but you choose an existing last shape that you like and that fits well, and then rather like the shop, you can choose all your other trimmings, what you want, depending on your budget. At the time when I spoke to them, that semi-bespoke, if you like, special order was around about £800. Just going to show you these, we'll see close up as well. These are Crockett & Jones, special order. And you might not be able to see, on the instep there is stamped subs again, which is very faint. But there's also kind of an embossed JL. And I think these were made for John Lewis. So this is an example of a shop special order. These, I just don't know. What on earth is that, you might be wondering? Well, I thought I'd show you my rag that I use for applying shoe cream, which I was doing yesterday, and I thought it's rather artistic, no? Anyway, These are not the Magnificence. These are the John Lewis special order shoes. I thought to look at those first to see the kinds of things that might be requested. From what I can tell, the shape of the last looks to me to be one of their hand grade models. I've got a couple of hand grade shoes, and they have a few lasts, but this seems to be one of their popular hand grade models. So it looks like that's been requested. The last is what they call asymmetrical, so you can kind of see that the widest point there is not symmetrical. Don't know what the big deal with that is, but it's nice. I like it. So it looks like that's what they've ordered. You can see that it's a pretty mighty sole. Now I'm going to need this other light. Double leather sole, and also a concealed channel. You don't see the stitching. There's another piece of leather that's placed over it, and this feels to me to be oak bark. Oak bark feels smoother than the regular. It's an upgrade. It's a two-tie derby. Quite thick leather, which you'll need. Very soft indeed. You need the thicker leather for the thicker sole because the thing has to balance, obviously. Looking inside, you can see the Crockett Jones sock, I think they maybe call it. I can do without this light now. And you can see soft leather lining, which is all the way in, and a kind of British racing green inner lining there, which I haven't seen before. So I imagine that these are all the sorts of things that John Lewis would have chosen for this particular range of shoes that they were doing. Subs. As you can probably see there. See the subs, and also a J and a J. There's meant to be a JL logo. Regular heel. Subs then. Why are these subs? Well, these are quite plain. The person photographed it. And it's this. On the toe cap of this one, you can see kind of a blemish there. I don't know what that is. I don't know if the leather split and it's been filled. I can't feel anything. And if they'd filled it, you'd imagine that they'd have filled it with a rather more matching colour. Anyway, as you can see, you start to get a patina on the toe cap anyway, and it's getting darker and darker. So that's not really an issue for me. So now, the Magnificence. Here they are. And let's see what I noticed about these. Now bear in mind, you may have spotted already, that there's a flaw, which is why they're subs. It took me a few weeks of casual observation. Couldn't see anything. And I thought, that's why. But I'll leave you to see if you notice that. This is a truly monstrous sole. I think it's triple. The last is wasted quite dramatically there. Again, asymmetrical. Something I found interesting, I think I might need the other light, as well as you can see where this very thick sole, it becomes narrower there. You can see that there's the third layer is tapered out. So that's extra work. Double stitching around there. Again, concealed channel, can't see the stitching, with leather inlaid, and it feels like oak bark to me. There's a subs stamp. I've just put a tape over, these are loke, very nice shoe trees, just to avoid any confusion. This is Crockett Jones. Cedar. And again, if we look inside, excuse my stomach, Crockett and Jones, there somewhere, the numbers, but no model name. Same with the John Lewis, no model name. Very heavy construction. Now these are 10F and I'm a 10E. So E is a normal width. Sometimes that can be a bit narrow for me. F is broader. So I took the chance because at that price didn't fit. I could sell them on. But when I tried them on the train, I picked them up from the post office thing when I was going somewhere and I couldn't help myself. So I tried them on and I found it very difficult to get my foot in, which I thought surprising because I didn't have a shoehorn with me and I didn't want to damage the back. So it took me quite some time, and I'll show you later. What I've noticed is they're not particularly wide. The sole adds a lot to it, of course, but this part, the actual shoe, isn't particularly wide. It is quite high here, but with this round here, with that wasting and so on, it's pretty tight. But you can adjust, of course, with the laces. So for me, it means that it grips my foot well there, but leaves a lot of room, not side to side, but quite a lot of height for the toes, which is fine. They don't slop about. But that's quite interesting. I imagine that if someone buying this as a 10F with a wide foot, a true wide foot, might find them a little bit snug. Maybe the person chose this setup and this last, and knowing that it would fit them. So I'll show you that me putting them on later. What about the subs bit then? Have you can you tell what it is yet? I'll keep you in suspense a bit longer. Okay, I'll give you a clue. It's to do with stitching. Incidentally, these have taken a long time to wear in, a really long time. Soft but very thick leather to handle that thickness of sole. They're just getting there, but there's a little way to go. I put those on because this very thick sole, when you're walking, doesn't tend to bend as much as it is a thinner sole, and I noticed that the front there was getting a fair bit of wear. So I just put those on to slow that down. Okay, the clue then is that it's something to do with the stitching. You can see it from there. Let me bring it closer. Yes, indeed. Can you see around the wingtip? This one is missing the stitching on that side of the punch holes. Double stitched on the edge with a single stitch around there. Double stitched on the edge. Whoops! No single stitch. So there we are. I'm fascinated as to when that was noticed. Presumably if you noticed pretty early on, you abandoned the project. I guess if you've gone so far with them, then you finish them and stamp them as subs and sell them at a reduced price. And some part of me can't help but wonder when it was noticed, who noticed it, who was responsible, and what happened. These things happen, don't they? But these must have been a very expensive pair of shoes. They're the biggest, most appointed pair of Crockett Jones, the heaviest weight that I have come across. And when you walk in them, the gravel, the sound they make, it's like the gravel surrenders under their magnificence. I'll see if I can show you that. Hope there's not too much in the way of wind noise. Let me just see if I can show you a comparison. These are a similar general shape. These are like standard, these are Crockett Jones Cardiff. You see with the stitching, regular sole. Notice that they're a derby with the lace-ups there, two separate flaps, and these are an Oxford, which is pretty unusual in a heavyweight brogue. I think nearly all the heavyweight English brogues are a derby. It's a bit kind of country looking perhaps, and a lot of the city shoes are Oxford, but this is an Oxford. Excuse the attire, not really appropriate to the shoe, but just wearing woolen Marks and Spencer black socks, which you might wear in the winter, not particularly thick. So it's okay to there, that's fine. And you can see it's stretching quite a bit there. So let's loosen that a bit more. There we go. So you can see around there, it's quite snug. And that already feels a little bit tight to me, so I'm not going to overdo it. And that's about it. It's firm around here, grabs here, and nonetheless there's still quite a V. On many of the shoes that I've got, they'll be a lot closer than that. But bear in mind that these are wide. I can wiggle my toes up and down. There fits nicely. Here's where there's quite a lot of room. If you'll be able to see it. As I put this one on, because of the derby opening, it's much easier. In fact, I don't even really need don't need the shoe form. So that's the Cardiffs. Pretty similar last, I'd say. Closer together there, certainly, than there for these. And these are feeling snugger at the moment. The thing about these, it seems to me, is I looked at the comparative widths of sole, and actually this one is a little bit thicker than the others, but not as much as I thought, and I think I'll tell you here's why. It gave that impression. It's this. It's how big that is. Get the right angle. There's just something about it that makes it very imposing compared to a little bit thicker, this sole. When you look at it, it looks a lot bigger to me. I don't know if this is going to work. There might be some wind noise because I've pumped the volume up so you can hear stuff. And also I'm rather cautious about making a spectacle of myself in my local community. Is that guy videoing his shoes? Oh, did you hear that? Yes. I don't know if you can hear that. It's like like it crunches them. Yes. The actual sound. Quite muted. Delicious, no? I kissed my race. What? The wood is cedar, and it can be rejuvenated by using sandpaper. Take the top layer off, and then the fragrance is increased. This brush belonged to my father, and I don't know, it must be 60 years old, I imagine. You can see it's wearing out, nonetheless. Something I'll point out to you later regarding the leather. I don't know if you can hear, but you can see it, you might not be able to, but the grain or something of the leather is finer on the toe cap than it is here. That's something that's relatively common actually, so you can hear. There's more grain or something there.